All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Longhouse, a Hyperborean stream about art, culture, uh, politics, and whatever else we feel like doing, and drinking right now, actually, as well. Um, I'm very much looking forward to today's stream. Leo has been coaching me for a couple of days on Hyperborea a couple of weeks ago, and it really piqued my interest in a more historical sense because before, when I looked into it, it was either seen as more of a spiritual Hyperborea or a. It was either Hyperborea is a spiritual place or white people are aliens. There was very much no in between. So I'm very excited to learn more about history because I really loved our Scandinavian history, and we're gonna probably do more on that during this fall. But I can't get too excited. I have to introduce our other panelists. Luddic Path, welcome.
Yeah, back again. Excited for the stream. So, according to the recommendations, I've tried to prep myself for this by watching Sinbad, The Legend of the Seven Seas, all of the Conan movies, and getting a medium to teach me to astral project with some level of success. So I think I'm ready. How about the rest of you?
Yeah, Birkarl, are you ready to tell us about the Finno-Korean Hyper War?
I will enlighten you as to why Hyperborea is lame shit.
Real quick here, Vingel says this might earn me a strike. Yeah, this intro is very much a only for the people catching us live. I probably have to edit that out once this stream is saved. Leo Borealis, welcome.
We're so back.
We're so back. It's pretty much your idea, the stream, really. So everyone watching, you can thank Leo, especially if it goes bad.
Yeah. As usual, the Norwegian doesn't want to take credit or blame for anything. Well, that's wrong. He likes credit.
I do like credit, not blame. Jay Burden has sent us a super chat saying, "It's all Lizzo, always has been." Thank you, Jay. I think he's playing a bit on. I had a tweet earlier where I referenced the "Turtles All the Way Down" quote, where it's all about Lizzo, and it's been all about Lizzo. I feel all week, so I think we should leave that one be for now and think back and reminisce about simpler and better times. But first, we have a couple of current events to get into. And I'm sorry if I have to mute a bit or if I stop talking or something like that. I'm slightly under the weather, so I might be coughing and stuff like that. So, last week in Con Inc., we have the big fasci mommy that will save Europe. Giorgia Meloni has quote-unquote won the election in Italy, meaning that the Brothers of Italy are the clear winners in the percentage of votes. And I'll pull up an article here with a couple of graphs for anyone who is interested. Let's see here. Share screen, and oh no, this is a right mess. Here we go. There it is. Okay. Giorgia Meloni's Italy's far right wins the election and vows to govern for all. I think our takes here are going to be very boring for anyone in the dissident right who's going to pull the woman card and just sort of take the easy way out. Can I do it? Can I say this isn't based because it's a woman?
No, I mean every party has to have the woman front figure now, I guess. So yeah, I'm not ready to discount her. She looks she looks properly Aryan to me. Maybe it's just the makeup. But yeah, I mean, I know next to nothing about Italian politics or whether this is a good thing or not. I mean, this is something we discussed previously, but it seems like Italy just doesn't have the same, taboo around right-wing politics as, say, the Scandinavian or the Anglosphere in Europe. So, I mean, is this? Does anybody know? Is this like just another day in Italy for them? And to us, this seems like Mussolini too, or is this just like some standard, conservative politics in Italy?
No, I mean this is a little bit, but what you would call it, because what has happened is essentially what the southern part of the country, as is that in the 2018 election was voted for the slightly left-leaning five-star alliance has essentially just been swept up. It's like one district that still is five-star alliance in the entirety of the south and the islands of Sicily and
she has been, I think, on record as, I'm not sure if praising Mussolini is the word, but maybe talking positively about him. But that sounds like something that is more standard fare in Italian politics.
Yeah, and especially she's from Sicily, and it's essentially like you have southern Italy, especially working class people are very much of they still like Mussolini. I mean, when I've been down to Sicily to like holiday, I'm talking with people, over when you're ordering stuff, and there's someone is always commenting on the local fuck up that is the political scene. There's always like an old grandmother or something who pipes up everything was better under Mussolini. So I think it's like it's like not to dunk on the Italians, but the last time Italy worked politically was during Mussolini's time in power. So
yeah, and I've heard, we talked about this, me and Luddic earlier, that the further south you go in Italy, the worse it gets, and that's something you hear from people who live there and who visit there, that garbage is literally piling up in the streets.
Yeah, that's more like urban Naples. That's a thing because and has been a thing for a long time because the local mafia, the Camorra, controls all the garbage handling. I know it's a little bit cliche, but that's how it is. And they've been in a conflict with the local politicians, so
we garbage men
are piling up in the streets. But yeah, it's southern Italy is by European standards very poor. But then again, none of them pay taxes. So
then at the same time, something like what did you tell me? Like the
third largest
it's in the article.
It's in the article here. It says that it's the third largest economy in the EU, which took me aback a little bit, considering what I understand about like the work culture and let's just say the respect or lack of respect they have of like the standard free market principles.
Well, I wouldn't say so. I mean, they have a long tradition of gray market stuff, and if we remember how the Rona thing came over to Europe, it was through Italy and factories in Italy with Chinese workers, like paying some taxes into the Italian system and stuff like that. So they have a lot of black market stuff, and they account for that in the GDP numbers. So. As far
I did not know that.
Hey, economic activity is economic activity. If you pay taxes on it, what does that matter? I mean, fuck, half of Italy it's tax evasion every year. They just don't pay it.
Money is changing hands, people. That's economics.
Yeah, that's GDP.
Yeah, that's GDP. Yeah, line goes up, right?
But
money goes out.
Outside the normal moral constraints, says congrats to the marinara monkeys. Yeah, congrats to the marinara monkeys.
I'll
May
just
the pasta flow.
I'll just break this happy parade by sharing something I found about Maloney. Is that she is apparently a single mother who has since gotten a new partner. before the elections here. So I don't know. You bring up the woman question, and then we pile on some more stuff.
Yeah.
It's looking bad.
Yeah, she
And
was
as
also
Vingol
minister of
is
some sort
pointing out,
under-
sorry.
Yeah, she was also a minister under Silvio Berlusconi when he was in power. So, that was before she started Fratelli d'Italia, I think.
And as Vingol pointed out in the chat, her Melonis aren't even that great. So I think with that, we should probably just swiftly move on to the next topic here before we go into Hyperborea, which is the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage. And the saga continues, actually, because it just a couple of hours ago, a second leak was discovered further south, I believe, than the other.
Yeah, it's a fourth one.
Is it the fourth one? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there's two leaks on the north of Bornholm, one south that were known, and now they found one more up north, and it's on the previously believed undamaged pipe, because there are 4 pipes in total.
And everyone knows who did this, but no one wants to say it. According to this article.
Yeah, suddenly
everyone is
sharks
saying,
have
yeah,
this-
we know who did this, but no one is saying who they think it is.
Obviously, the Norwegians. I mean, they just opened a new branch.
Could be.
Pipeline.
Yeah, that's quite
the
possible.
freshly released sharks into the Baltic Ocean. Never been there before, but they are now.
Yeah, so I don't know if we have anything more interesting to add to this than that have already been said. I just wanted to include it just in case, someone
Yeah,
wanted
I mean,
to.
it seems to me like the normie thing is then Russia gone done it, but then in our spheres it's like Biden done it. I guess there's some arguments for both sides. To be honest, I just have like almost no clue about international politics in this way to try to understand like who actually benefits from this stuff.
It's to my knowledge, it's only America. I mean, the pipe was the leverage Russia had over Europe. Why would they destroy their own leverage?
Yeah, it doesn't. I really have no clue. I thought the same thing myself, and apparently the area that these leaks are in are sort of controlled by the United States. And when the EU is talking about Article 5 as well, I mean they can't really invoke that if it's in international waters, if I understand correctly. So it's does seem like this kind of kicking
Hyperboreans did it.
The Danish, one of the things are in Danish territorial waters. The rest in the Swedish economic zone. So
Bornholm, Hyperborea confirmed.
But weren't they already closing down these pipes? Like that was
Nord Stream 2 was never started up, and they had paused. Russia had paused gas flow through Nord Stream 1.
But Germany was talking about like going to the Russians and hammering out a deal for opening it again. I seem to remember, which could have pushed the US to do this, right?
Yeah, and the Italian government, to tie that one into, had gone to the ballot box essentially partially on the question of seeking an independent deal with Moscow if the EU wouldn't do something about these ridiculous sanctions. So
going by the who gains the most from this, I mean it's the Americans, right?
Yeah, it's sure as hell not Russia.
No, exactly. So I think we'll, unless you guys have anything more you want to add, we can just move on. I mean, this story is sort of developing, and we might cover this next week as well. Nothing. All right. Fjolnir donates 1,500 Icelandic kroner, saying the Necronomicon is greater than the Linda book.
Damn, we're rich now.
That is an old
right?
like magic book or something, isn't it? Like a myth.
One fake LARP book is better than the other fake LARP magic book.
Right.
They're both fakes made by Christians.
1,500 Icelandic crowns. That's like 2 beers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh boy. No, it's still great, but when
yeah,
you see those big
Fjolnir.
numbers, it's like you know. It's,
Actually,
The
I
color
time to
looks very
retire.
nice. Yeah. Okay. I think it's time to do the Hyperborea. Don't you guys agree? Let me pull up some. Which image do you want to start with, Leo?
I think that we should start with the image Birkarl had
Oh yeah, let's do that.
as the backdrop.
There it is. So you have the scientific advancement scale here, and then you have early hominids, African proto-kingdoms, and then you have the Finnish and Korean hyperwar that somehow destroys technological advancement. Phaeton. What is this orange here? Is this just cave?
Don't know.
Centaurian expansion, destruction of Maldek, Mu, Age of Atlantis, pre-Diluvian Babylon, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, Christian, Dark
The
Ages,
historically
Renaissance.
attested worldwide flood after Babylon.
Exactly. And then you have the hole left by the Christian Dark Ages here. So the impact of the Finno-Korean hyperwar is that's the real blow to any atheists out there.
Yeah. Really set us back, man. Why would the Finns do this?
The Koreans started it, clearly.
Yeah. It was something about eating sticks. Anyway, the memes beside, I mean, Hyperborea in the extant record is essentially what comes down from a couple of Greek writers, primarily Herodotus. And in the Old Greek languages, it means essentially beyond Boreas. And Boreas was the god of the north wind in the early Greek mythology. And there are some essentially you can read Herodotus here a little bit like you can read Tacitus in Tacitus Germania. He hasn't been there himself, so it relies on like third, fourth hand sources.
I see.
So and there's a various thing between Greek scholars where they go like, oh, Hyperborea is over here. No, it's over there. It's really here. So they're essentially having this same fight that people had in the 1700s in Europe, trying to claim the locations of Atlantis. The Greeks in
Right.
the
or the Americans had with the peninsula of California.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's like, no, it's so nothing new under the sun. So it's and the mythic tracts of the Greeks then show the Hyperboreans as the favorites of Apollo, and the king, this extremely northernmost kingdom, should then have been the placement of the fountain of youth. But by and large, it's more like one of these terra incognita places. You don't really know
Right.
what it is, and it's more of a kind of a placeholder. So essentially, Homer.
Do the alleged locations match up in between the authors, or is it just
No,
writing about where
they're
it
just
actually is?
they're just putting it a little bit. I mean, Homeros placed Boreas in Thrace, so the Hyperboreans one was, in his opinion, it's like everything somewhere north of Thrace in Dacia.
Okay, so but everyone is like it's something in the north.
Yeah, it's this mythic place far in the north with this this very advanced. They kind of lean into that it's a kind of a model society, and their people are tall and beautiful and favorites of the gods.
Interesting.
It does lean into this idea of the Yuga cycles, of how in the Golden Age, people were, these 3-5 meter tall, essentially immortal beings, and how all that ties to stuff like the biblical Garden of Eden, where it was a paradise, everything was a plenty.
Yeah, when giants walked the earth, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, and these contemporary researchers who basically try to, the way they twist leftism into it is by calling it ancient utopianism. And yeah, as far as the placing goes, if you want to go the extreme materialist route, the explanation is basically something like before how we started the Nordic history stream with the previous ice age. So if you go back before that to the previous Pangea formation at basically the North Pole, it was somewhat habitable to mammalian life. So you could think that, because
so the possibility exists that there could have been a society there, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Well, yeah, we'll go into that. I have some graphs in the graph folder we can look at.
I know you sent me a graph folder, yeah.
It can't be an autistic stream without graphs, okay? We need the graphs.
No, I'm fine, yeah. I'm down for it.
Yeah, no, so I think you have to watch that. I mean, you have like, what's his name? Aristotle. He placed it in the Riffian mountain range on the borders of Scythia, and then it's a little bit further north, so perhaps into the southern Ural mountains. So people were just placing it all over the place.
Right.
So I think that it's one of those, as Birkarl says, it's one of those perhaps lingering Indo-European things from the ideas of the Yugas.
Mm-hmm. So, if you're to get into Hyperborea, then where's a good place to start? I mean, you probably have a thought here, considering I'm looking at all the images and stuff you sent me.
Well, the basis for this one is essentially it is the Greeks again who are the one who transmits the idea of Hyperborea, just like it's the Greeks who transmits the idea of Atlantis via the Egyptians, and since this is they had written records, and these records have survived in various forms, while earlier records have been lost. That's essentially why we keep coming back to the Greeks, because people were able to make copies of those records and moving them around. So we don't really have anything else. The other thing that we have to go and look at when it comes to the ancient world is essentially archaeology, and looking at core samples, both from the seafloor and from extant ice shelves, primarily.
Yeah, I was going to say, geology seems to have played a huge part in sort of trying to reconstruct a lot of this.
Yeah, the thing is that to really get into this, the first idea that you have to understand is that the world might seem like a very stable and unchanging place in a certain way. Not politically, but the general environment. On a such short time span as a couple of years or a couple of decades, sure, it might seem that way. But the thing is that the world, or especially the planetary crusts, is extremely plastic. It's I think if you say take a beach ball, say one like say a meter across,
Okay.
3 feet, standard beach ball. Say that's the globe. Then the hard crust of the Earth that we inhabit, that we see as rock, would be a fourth of the thickness of the beach ball, and the beach ball thickness is perhaps half to a third of a millimeter on that scale.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely thin, so it moves and shapes itself due to different pressures. The ever-present idea of climate change, and how everything will go to shit if the average temperature or something
Donald
goes
Trump
up.
gets elected in 2024.
Yeah, and if Donald Trump gets elected and the average temperature per year increases with 1 degree Celsius, everyone is going to die or something like that. Everything will burn up, and the seas are going to swallow the world. If you go into the folder named Ostia.
Ostia, yes.
Yep. And then
Do you want
first
the satellite or the?
No,
bots?
the other one first. This is just to illustrate with a modern day example. This is a reconstruction of the primary port of the Roman Empire at the mouth of the Tiber River. So a couple of miles up from this port is the city of Rome. And the big thing here is the central basin in the hexagonal form that was created by the works of the Emperor Trajan. So this is roughly as you see here, about by the latter imperial era.
Right.
So you can see where the coast is. Can you show the satellite picture?
I'll show the satellite picture. So this is the same. This is the same area today. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the river.
We have a super chat from QWERTYZZ7. Any of you read Revolt Against the Modern World by Evola? Last third is about Hyperborea. Yes, and I did read up on his Hyperborea chapters in preparation for this, but I do get the sense that his search for Hyperborea in that sense is a bit more spiritual than trying to prove it actually existed or anything like that. It's more to shore up on his ideas of sort of we have come from greatness and slowly declined, pretty much. It is. I was going to say something else, but I think I forgot. Do you guys have any comments on that?
No, I agree with you. I've read it as well. I haven't read it up on it for like a
yes.
year.
He uses his technique where he describes it as like trying to navigate by the stars, where he sort of collects a lot of things that you said that this historian or this people wrote this and this people wrote this. So, if I can align myself using those two to find the North Star, then I'll find Hyperborea, sort of. But he never gets really into the whole, like, trying to explain that it's real. It's more just trying to illustrate a concept of an ancient people being greater than us, it seems.
Mm. Yeah, he uses more of a rhetorical device rather than an exploration of the subject matter.
Okay, sorry, continue. This is the same port, basically, and you can see the shoreline here is pretty much unchanged.
If you zoom in a little bit on that one, so everyone can see it. That one, yes. You can see the green hexagon here in the middle. That is the basin.
Oh, okay, I see, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can see the line of the Tiber River going in, kind of in the same place, coming out of the hills behind it.
Yeah. Let me just see if I can swap back real quick. Yeah, you see it here. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
So that's kind of unchanged because it comes the upper part that comes through the boundary hill layer that lies between the city of Rome and the coastal plain. It goes through eaten through like limestone. So It's kind of not changing all that much because it isn't working with silt or earth, so it doesn't move, it doesn't meander. In any case, what you see here is how much in the last 1200 years, 1500 years or so, how much the sea has retreated. What was used to be the port basin of the Roman Empire is now a couple of miles from the sea.
But what about rising sea levels? Climate change?
Yeah, that that is the thing. But the thing is that this one was essentially built during, and the rise and fall of the Roman Empire essentially coincident with the Roman warm period. If you go into the graphs, I think you can find. Let's see.
Oh, sorry, I just had to get something real quick. Okay, the graphs. Which one would you like?
If you take the one that is marked minus 2000 BC to 2000 AD.
All right.
Here you can see the fluctuations in temperature. This one is taken from various core samples, so we can see the delineation of the temperature anomaly. So what we see here is that from the Roman warm period, which occupies the point in the middle here, you have a high point that goes from around 500 BC and then upwards, and then it plunges down around the year 0. And this is probably due to a series of volcanic eruptions, rather big ones, that created a region of time where there were several years without a real summer. It was shrouded, the entire planetary body, in dust. So as you can see, the temperature plummeted dramatically. There were mass famines. And this is also where one of the large plagues that really knocks the Romans down quite a bit.
Yeah.
Else. And then you can
That's
just
quite a dramatic shift. Interesting.
So what you see here is then essentially how high culture follows these warm pages. You have from the 2,000 years ago, when you have the early rise of the early Bronze Age, and then we go into the Minoan warm period, where you have the large Bronze Age trade and civilizations in the Mediterranean basin. And then it gets rapidly colder again, and then, well, people starve, and it all goes to shit.
Right.
And then you have the Inter-Hellenic period there with the Greek Dark Ages until the rise of the Roman Empire, or rather, first Roman Republic. But you can see even in the so-called Greek Dark Ages that goes between there, if you go out through towards modern times, you can see that it's substantially warmer than what it is now. And if you go into the medieval warm period, this is where you have essentially around the year 1000. This is where every cathedral in Europe is built, because this gives the population and agricultural surpluses that you have the time and resource to spend on building cathedrals.
Right, that makes sense though. But I mean, we did talk about Evola a minute ago, and he does talk about these cycles, right? He calls it like the Atlantic cycles or something. Let me see. I have the book here next to me, actually. Let me just pull this up. I can at least get the chapter name. The Northern Atlantic Cycle, the Pole and the Hyperborean region, the North and South. In some of these chapters, he talks about, how these things. He has it's not graphs, but like arrows showing how these cycles work, and it almost seems to match up with the temperature here. But if you're gonna follow his line of thinking, it's ever going downward. It's just an interesting thought.
Yeah, the thing is that if you follow this kind of thing, they especially as Evelop points out, you go through periods because the temperature of the Earth, also because how it interacts with the orbital cycles of both the Sun and the planetary system. It goes through periods of warming. It goes from warm to cold, constantly bouncing back and forth. Some periods are shorter because of orbital dynamics and the regions that the solar system travels in. That is also one thing that people doesn't really take into all these climatological models that they have. But it's like, oh, but if there's a cycle, they say, why is it this way and this way? And more modern astrophysics is starting to realize that the galactic bombardment of charged particles has quite a large influence on planetary weather, not just on Earth, but on the rest of the planets in the solar system. And since we do pass through the galaxy slowly, this means that as we pass through these distant regions, the solar system is then exposed, if you will, to different types of space weather, within quotation marks. So it's like trying to use a line, what the IPCC, for example, is trying to do when they're measuring quote-unquote climate change, is essentially trying to use a linear directional model in a complex systems where you know about 15% of the variables, rest are just unknowns, which means that every time you get one number wrong, it creates
the deviations are huge. Yeah,
and the deviation is then cycling off that data becomes one standard deviation upwards. So three wrong numbers that have gone through 3 cycles, you're at 9 standard deviations of fault. So, and that's why they are constantly making these insane predictions that never really seems to hit the ball, and that is because they are having a very faulty model.
Interesting. Not to get all Evola again here, but Julius Flavius says he does speak of them being a people in a place who gave way to lunar type people who eventually set up colonies in the east. Yes, he has the north to south and west to east migration patterns, etc. But I think our points was more that it's not like he's trying to prove, that the meme Hyperborea that we talk about today actually existed. It's more that he's trying to explain how this greatness was lost or diffused over time. Anyway,
essentially.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just reinforcing your idea that he is in a sense using it as a rhetorical device to comfort the ideas of the cycle of the yugas.
Yes. Okay. Do we have is it time for another graph or?
No, we shouldn't bore with graphs unnecessarily much. This was more to give a little bit of a perspective. Let's start with something fun. Oh yeah, let's start with the Göbekli Tepe folder.
Sure. We did talk a bit about this in which stream was that? A couple of weeks ago.
I don't remember. I think it was like
I don't know. We talked about it recently.
I think that was the Harari stream, actually.
Harari stream, yes,
on the side to explain the Göbekli Tepe phenomena that he mentions but doesn't explain.
Yeah, that's correct. I went on a tangent there. Yeah, this one is kind of an interesting. Let's use this as the ingress vector for Europe. So this is an interesting little site that exists in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, on a hill not that far from the sea. Göbekli Tepe means pot-bellied hill in Turkic, so that's why it's called like that. And this is a large, you can just cycle through the images slowly. So this is a large megalithic site that shows up in the archaeological record just as the Ice Age ends, or starts ending at least, once the things have settled down from the events that caused the end of the Ice Age. And this is the point where agriculture and stone construction starts with a bang. Essentially, it doesn't exist one day at all in Anatolia, and the next day it's just there, and you see radiating out from this site across Anatolia into Lebanon and into what is today Greece. You see the idea of agriculture and various grains starting to show up very rapidly in the archaeological record. So the current working thesis, this one sits at the headwaters of the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers also. So it's in these hills that those rivers start. So I was thinking about another place there before. In any case, so this is the inception of agriculture for essentially Europe. And what's
by
interesting,
saying that, you mean this is sort of the furthest back we can, find any records of agriculture?
Yeah, in this part of the world, it doesn't exist before this, and it pops up like that. So
right.
Normally we will see like in other places that you would find remnants of trial and error. You just don't cultivate wild grains that you collected as you gather, and then suddenly had large fruit-bodied grains from nowhere. So the emerging theory for Göbekli Tepe is that it is a site of technological transfer, because this might seem like a temple or like a settlement, but there is no, in the sedimentary layers, there is no habitation in this area at all. There's no nearby water sources. The next river is like down in the valleys below, so it's very far. It's quite arid. So there has never been any permanent settlement here. So then you must ask yourselves, why did people that ostensibly were hunter-gatherers overnight learn how to create megalithic structures? And the first thing that they did create was not a village, not a city, not a fortification or anything. They created something that looks a little bit like a temple.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing they do.
Yeah, it reminds me of the old, the first thing the Romans built was a bathhouse. Isn't that the saying when they took over a new village or a city to sort of get started on the Roman culture?
So if you just scroll down the closer images there on the various pillars, because it's an interesting thing. This site is vast. The dugout section that we showed previously is just a very small piece of it. It radiates out for hundreds and hundreds of meters with various concentric circles. The interesting thing, though, is that when you come to the stonework, this is from the innermost circle, the oldest part. This thing holds much higher standards, say with these bas-relief lizards or whatever it is. And it gets distinctly more primitive as it gets newer. Normally it's the other way, that the oldest is the worst, and it gets better as people can get their skill going. But in this case, it's clear that the people who did this were very experienced, had the tools to do it, and came from a culture that had put value in this, so that they didn't have to farm. They could be
Right.
masons and sculptors.
They had
But
time to
the
put into
generations
honing their
had less
skills.
and less of that training. So therefore, the stonework gets smaller, more primitivistic, more just worse,
Yeah,
essentially.
it degrades over time, basically.
Yeah, until the last circle that they have looked on is also the smallest. Doesn't have the T shape of the pillars. It's just straight pillars, and they're uneven and raw, and not very good at all. So what? So the you also that one, that's pillar 43. This one is a little bit interesting because you have these bag-like symbols on the top. You can see those like 3 bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, those symbols show up in a number of places in the world. They show up in Sumeria. They show up on Olmec stoneworks in Mesoamerica, and they all date from roughly this period. So,
Mjolnir here says, I'm not saying it's Hyperboreans, but it's Hyperboreans.
yes, or a shared cultural influx or something like that. Everyone,
The question is that this
Russians
looks
and
like
the Americans
someone
will recognize the McDonald's symbol and so on.
right. But
Even
the point is that this whole thing looks very much like someone from the outside came in and took over, and they had much higher skill, much better tools.
Yeah,
Et cetera.
probably just trying to pass on what they could.
Yeah.
If you come from an agrarian society that was able to a megalithic culture, let's just not go into the full alien man and and say that it was super advanced. No, but they had astronomy and could do all of this cool stuff.
I mean, you can do quite a lot. I mean, throwing back to our old Scandinavian history when we talked about the Bronze Age, I mean, you can do quite a lot in terms of civilization with what we'd today consider low levels of technological advancement, right? But there are a couple of big ones, and once you have those going, you sort of supercharge your your society. So if this was a farming society sort of coming into contact with a non-farming society, I mean, obviously the farming society, if it had been going for quite a while, would probably be miles ahead of them.
Yeah, and this is also, you can see the ideas transfer, and also how in the degradation of the archaeological record of the stonework, how certain skills are simply not prioritized because everyone else is just trying to survive and get through the day. So this kind of more esoteric, from their perspective, perhaps more esoteric stuff, they just don't have time for it.
No, it's not a priority, understandably.
Yeah, and you also have to remember that the time that this is put up in the tail end of the Younger Dryas era, the end of the former Ice Age, things are still quite chaotic, planetary-wise. So it's not like these people come from like a place that was bad and then they get into a nice place, because there's some hard shit going on. With the climate, it's swinging violently back and forth from essentially atomic winter to hot periods with droughts and stuff like that. So this is also a period where you have what you call a genetic bottleneck in the human genome, because you can see in the trace lines of the mitochondrial DNA that you can see the traces of that. It has been a much larger and more diverse population, and then it just contracts, and you see missing data in it too, and that's when you have a population crash, and you see a big one coming in just at the tail end of the Ice Age. And I mean, if it, we can go back to the graphs there just to take a little look here. Can you take the one that's marked with the YGB field?
YDB field.
Yeah, it's the one that has a map on it.
Here we go. Oh, this is the meteor stuff you told me about.
Yeah, this is the rough extents of the YDB field. This is essentially what's called the black mat layer. It's a foot deep. This is where you find more or less a layer of carbonized material that goes over the entire area. And this one is studded with high impact nanodiamonds and various celestial material, rare earth mineral dust and stuff like that. And you also see this that comes down as it has been raining down mud from the impact. So the impacts of the asteroids as they hit. The tail end first hits over Europe in the North Atlantic and then impacts the ice shelves in northern and central Canada, called the Laurentide, and parts of the southern Greenland area. And all the mass that this then displaces, it shoves it up into the troposphere, where it super cools and then rains down. So it essentially rains black mud for days.
Right.
And
it's pretty metal. So this is sources that have been found, through geology, right?
Yeah, you can find this when if you dig deep down enough to the layer for 11,500 years ago, you will find this YBD field, and they have found impact craters in the southern tip of Greenland, in Quebec, and in Ontario, I think. And if they start looking on the
how long ago was this?
11,500 years ago. This is the event that sharply ends the last ice age.
Right.
If you take
any, I know this is quite a long time ago, but do we have any sort of written accounts or any sort of oral tradition that seems to have survived? I mean, you would think that this is quite cataclysmic. Right. Considering if it rains mud and dirt, and you probably die if you go outside for a long time.
Yeah, and global tsunamis. This is probably the origin of flood myths all across Europe, because it's probably some of this cometary debris that falls down doesn't just hit the Atlantic; it probably also hit the Pacific. So they get a nice smack of the ladle as well. If you go and have a look at the other graph that it's called last 15,000 years.
Let's see here, 15,000 years.
If you zoom in on that one, there you can see the various thing here, because you have two points. You have the younger dryas cooling, here it comes, and then you have the second warming point here. You see you have two spikes. Essentially, the first one is at 12,000 years, and the second one, and then comes another one later. So currently, they think that the impact seems to be the first point at somewhere 12,000 years ago, and then there's a second event that comes a couple of millennia after that, but they don't know if that is also impact from the same cometary debris out of the Tauroid meteor stream. That's also kind of to explain. The Tauroid meteor stream is called as that because it seems when you look at it from Earth, it seems to come out of the star sign Taurus. So therefore, the toroids. But it's actually a giant comet field, or rather the debris field of a giant comet that orbits the sun, and Earth passes through it. I think it's in August. No, it's in early June and in late November, early December, so twice a year. And the thing that happened here that ended the last ice age was that we got hit by a large piece that broke up when it came into the gravitational field of Earth. and then hit us like a like a what do you call it? Well, have you seen one of those? Yeah, but also a sequence of trucks.
Yeah.
Like a bombing run. Say if you have watched bomber footing
or a bull rush, that would be fitting considering the name.
Yeah, that's also why you see from in the other area where the ejecta is and why it is narrower. The field is narrower in one end of the field and then wider as it comes out of the Americas.
Right.
So that's essentially where you have the impact format.
Uh-huh. So how does this tie to the ideas of Hyperborea then? Maybe I'm asking this a bit too early, but I'm just going to make sure that we're staying on course here.
Just to understand also, take in the graph that's called meltwater pulses. But the thing is that since you have these mile-deep, large ice shelves that cover the entirety of the North Americas and the Europe, those ones, a large part of them are essentially flash-boiled instantly.
That would be the 11.5 here is when the comets hit. That's the spike. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the two spikes, but these are the because there's two. As we said before, there are two events. But the first spike here is the what this essentially shows is discharge rate in cubic kilometers into the oceans. So this is well, you're adding another ocean in an afternoon.
Jesus, yeah, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, and the primary volume of the American ice shelf, the Laurentide, empties into the Pacific through the American North, what is today the American Northwest, and it just rips the entire area, the entire land with itself, goes out straight out in the ocean. So in this case, the sea level jumps, not a meter, not 2 meters. Both these two events jumps to sea level over 40 feet.
Right, and that's a flood. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, because this doesn't happen over years. This happens perhaps over the course of a week, this entire pulse.
Jesus. Because
you have to understand that the comparative energy that is loaded into these impacts is essentially expending 4 or 5 times the entire energy in the global nuclear arsenals on the northern hemisphere. So we couldn't at our current stockpiles reproduce this event.
Right. It's even more powerful than that. Yeah, that's insane.
So that is what we are working here. So this would essentially cause global tsunamis that just goes back and forth and just drowns everything. So if you're not fast, then you're underwater.
Or if you haven't built an ark.
Yeah, or live on a mountain somewhere. Yeah, somewhere. We can have a look at that. We can take a look at. Let's go to the first victims of said tsunami at Yonaguni Island. Go to with the blue.
Yeah, which one would you like to start with?
Yonaguni.
Yeah, but which image? Just start at the top.
Well, just take them one by one.
Yep.
They're essentially just going through here.
The Yonaguni Island was the one off the coast of Japan. Is that it?
Yeah, this is in Okinawa Prefecture and Okinawa is one of the southernmost islands of the Japanese home territories. And this is just off the coast of the current island, a little bit out. And this is, according to modern archaeology, natural formations. Observe how someone has been very kind to remove all the debris from the 90 degree angles. So there's no like.
Look at this emergent behavior here.
yeah, there's some really interesting emergent behavior going on here. Yeah, you can see it for yourself. I mean, this is a typical way that that granite shapes itself due to complex underwater currents.
Right, exactly. They go in straight lines.
Very much so. And the current, observe that the currents are so strong that they will remove and take with them all these heavy stones that they abrade away. So it's, you can see on the shelves, it's very clean. Not a lot of
you
stone.
can even see this in this picture. Like, you have the more natural looking stuff down here, right? And then suddenly, bang, straight lines.
Yeah, and you see downwards that there's blocks and stuff like that. And then it's interesting.
I like how chat is just having the same bruh moment about this.
Yeah, and here you have something where this is on the downside of the thing here, so it's a bit rougher. Take the next one. I don't think there's.
I think we're through all of them.
Yeah, I didn't have because this doesn't really mean.
No, I just cycled through them because they were very cool. Yeah.
This one is very good, as you said. It's emergent staircase formation behavior. It just happens.
Especially with this like hallway into a staircase. That's yep. That's how it goes.
This one is since Yonaguni Island is a diving tourism spot. This one was found because of that, and it's quite shallow. And so this area would probably not have been drowned in the first meltwater pulse, but in the second one, which kicked up.
Space Marine, just where was this? This is Yonaguni Island.
Yonaguni Island,
yeah,
in Okinawa, southern Japan. Let's look at some more emergent behavior.
What do you guys think, Luddic and Birkarl? Do you enjoy the emergent behavior here? Are your minds being blown yet?
I'm Neil deGrasse Tysoning all over. I'm just sitting, blowing my mind at what nature can accomplish. What's this? The blind watchmaker that has made this come about. So I'm just more convinced in trusting the science.
You can. Did you get the picture, Walrus, with that is marked? It's like a thermal map of the world, standard projection. It's not in one of the files. It's out in the main file.
Yes. Do you have the name of it?
Sea level ice age.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
Show that one just for a little bit of comparison.
Sure. Real quick. Daniel Nilsson says, I wonder how many years for science to accept this. Well, I think, without being too aliens did it, I think science would never be able to accept this because it would mean that science would have to accept a more cyclical view of its own existence, which means that it can't be progressive.
Yeah, I mean, you have the idea of paradigm shifts, right, in science, and there's certain things you can know about and certain things you can't know about if you're in a specific paradigm. So maybe if there's a shift in the future, they could reconsider some of these things we already have. But if we're still working on this kind of like shitlib theology, so to speak, then of course you can't accept anything that goes outside of it. It's just not how it works.
This one is this is I would like to preface with that this is a straight projection of current seafloor formation, where what happens if you essentially just lower the sea line level to what it was before the meltwater pulses. That means it's not 100% accurate because of the plasticity of the tectonic plates, especially in the Atlantic. Because the thing is that when you have a large weight like an ice shelf larger, like 3 times larger than the one that is on Greenland, laying over, say, than northern Canada, or Canada overall, that weight goes somewhere when you have like a couple of miles of ice with that area.
It has to be distributed somehow.
Yeah, it is distributed, and the thing is that it is distributed out into the tectonic fault line zones. So that would be essentially, in the case of the Laurentide ice shelf, it would be into the mid-Atlantic ridge and into the ridge plate that goes into the Caribbean. And what happens when you push down the middle of the plate, and the weight gets distributed out into the fault line where of course the plate is the weakest, so it will swell upwards. So probably extent research with this is that it would probably have pushed the entire Atlantic ridge about maybe between 0.5 and 0.8 miles higher. So you would have quite a lot of islands along the mid-Atlantic ridge, and you would have larger visible island formation in the Caribbean. So Florida would probably have contact with the island of Cuba.
Yeah, so it was
the area around
walk across.
Bimini would be quite large. Still, this is things that geoscience is still very new.
Isn't that sort of the basis for why Evola talks about how, and others, of course, talk about how some people migrated over from the northern hemisphere to America. Sorry, westwards to America. They pretty much back then could walk over.
Yeah. So that is how the North Americas were populated by humans, probably because the indigenous peoples in North and South America has quite a lot of common DNA with the people in northern Siberia. So there's a direct link there. That's not disputed. Interestingly enough, is though that there is a quite strong but small signal of Australoid genome in the Amazon rainforest among indigenous tribes in the central Amazon basin. So that would be Australian Aborigines. So that one is a bit weird. It's like, how the hell did they go all over there? Because they can't walk over. And they haven't left a signal in any of the other people, say in North America or it's just in the Amazon basin that this exists.
That's strange.
Yeah.
So Fjolnir for 300 Icelandic kroner says, this reminds me of Graham Hancock's work.
Yeah, Graham.
Sure if that's a compliment or not.
Well, Graham Hancock has written a couple of books on this. I think it's called Chariot of the Gods, one of them. And no, that's not that one. It's another one. Yeah, I think he has written some books on this. But well, what can I say? He's a journalist.
Right. Yeah, I looked at his Wikipedia. I wasn't aware of who this guy was, but Wikipedia is slamming him as a pseudoscientific theoretician. So.
Yeah, they like to do that, but
which means he's right.
Yeah.
I haven't read anything, but he's right.
It's what the old school journalist does. He finds out a lot of fun things that essentially has collected all these various fringe research that seem to line up and written a book about it. Fingerprints of the Gods. Thank you. So that's what he has done. He doesn't actually do research. He's just
a compiler.
Yeah, more or less, and then puts it in a narrative that kind of functions.
He is like the perfect Joe Rogan guest, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes his ayahuasca.
As he's both on the DMT stuff and on this stuff, so it's like you do the DMT and then you bring up all this kind of fringe stuff and you get the
Very
reactions. At least that's what I've seen him from before. If you search him on YouTube, you'll just find these kind of sketched videos where he talks about DMT and stuff. But I know that he's done some more interesting work as well.
Yeah, probably.
So you wanted to look at some more emergent behavior.
Oh yes. Let's stay in South America and open that folder.
Okay.
And then you can open one of the.
You want Cusco, Machu Picchu, or
We can start with
Tiwanaku? Cusco. Okay.
Cusco is essentially seemed to be a fortress city, and it seemed to be
built into the.
No, that one. That is newer. But take another picture that shows it better, because that is the second one. Here you can see the megalithic stonework of the walls of Cusco and terraces of Cusco.
Interesting.
And you can see the size of these boulders.
Oh Jesus! Yeah.
People like modern science like to place this. This was the Incas. There's only a little bit of a problem with that. It is that the surviving records of the Incas themselves say that they couldn't do this. They attribute this to it was there when they showed up, and they actually have a record of them trying to move stones of this size and failing disastrously. People die. The stones get away from them, and it falls into a gorge, and it rips through the mountain roads, and people fall down with it and get tangled in the ropes. I think it's like over 100 people die, and then they never try it again because they realize that no, we don't need to do this.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
You can see
some of these are quite large.
Yeah, a couple of hundred.
They don't seem to be sort of like. You could make the argument about the Japan one where it's sort of like carved out of already existing mountain, but here it seems like it's almost they've built this from the ground up almost.
Yeah, this is you can see the color variations on the stones.
Yeah.
These are quarried stones that have been dragged here from a quarry in some manner and then assembled. If you go to the Machu Picchu, or how the fuck you say that, pictures, just take the number one and
Machu Picchu. Yeah, let's do that.
You can see the dating. Different. Yeah, take the number one. So here you can see some of the old stonework in Machu Picchu. It's similar. This is the outer wall, so it's a terrace on the inside, and you can see this very, very seamless, large pieces of stone. Take the next one. Here you can see.
Real quick, I'll just say Clossington says that a lot of Graham Hancock's conclusions about antediluvian civilizations are bunk. It's a good compiler, though, for anyone interested.
Yeah, he goes. He goes a little bit. As I said, he likes his ayahuasca. But here you can essentially see the upper parts of stone construction here. They can see with rounded small stones, not very neatly fitted. This is Inca construction from the last. I think the oldest is about 1,000 years old and upwards, and you can see the foundations that they rest on, and the various new terrace retaining walls at the bottom of the picture. You can really see there's a distinct difference in style and quality here. So this is essentially a newer civilization trying to mimic what they have found,
building on top of the other.
Yeah, you can
sort of like the Göbekli Tepe thing, except there seems to be a more of a disconnect in between number one and number two.
Here's a distinct disconnect. I mean, the Incas' own written sources says that these places were found by the Incas as they moved in from Bolivia, from the north. If you take the next picture. These are more of the old stonework, as you can see how the
Jesus.
rock has been, this outcropping has been sheared off to make like inside that thing there, underside there are more constructions with doorways and openings.
Huh. That is very cool work, actually.
Mm.
I mean, it's you know, we could probably do this today easily, but considering, you know, how many years ago this must have been.
Mm.
This is, yeah. I mean, it really it gets the neurons firing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the you know, the old noticing that we're not supposed to be doing.
Sure.
If you can take the next one. Here you can see a view of various terraces, and here you can see the drum-shaped kind of almost like tower turret in the far left that we saw earlier, and then this very straight and narrow, slightly tapering door opening, very geometric.
Yeah.
Then you can see all these piled small stones that are
Trying to.
the new stuff that
Yeah.
you can also see the other one lies in line. They're level and they add up in the edges. Here's just, you can see the lines, and even the top lines are meandering because they can't shape the stones into the shapes that they need. They don't know how to do it.
Yeah, no, you can see it on the individual stones. They just can't get them as, you know, carved as sharply as the originals.
Yeah, you can go to picture number 5. The next one, I think. Here you can see these blocks. And you can see that the lowest block in the middle section is about as tall as a person. So
Right.
this is not a small stone. And as you can see, the left side of the...
And they even have, like, you know, column-like bottoms here. Very cool.
Mhm.
No, they just have some sort of etch. Sort of, it smooths out towards. It has like a foot. The column here.
Yeah, it's probably...
It might be hard to see, but you can see it here.
Another stone segment there, so it's like a locking lug to distribute towards the other one. As you can see, the top construction tapers down, so it has probably tapered further out, but that part is missing. Someone has probably used it for something. And we should also say that all this construction that is made here in all these pictures from South America is not made in granite. It's made in a material called andesite, and it's a type of granite, but it's much harder. It's like, I think, 0.3 or 0.4 higher in the Rockwell hardness scale than general granite. So it's actually harder to work than European granite.
Interesting. So not only didn't they know how to do it, they had to try to do it with harder stone.
Yeah. Can you go and take the one that's called Tiwanaku 1? Because here we have a little bit of a different style.
It's smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, smaller, more interlocking. But here we think that this is... if you go around and see, the thing is, if you see that large gate here you see are probably looking at in these the various walls. You're looking at different ages of construction. That gate there is made from a single block of stone.
Are you sure it's not? Well, there's something going on over here, but yeah.
Yeah, it's cracked because of earthquakes. So if you take the next...
but there's no seams here. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So it's one side. I think we have one that is freestanding out in the field nearby. That is called the Gate of the Sun. If you take its number... I get it. Take number 2. Just go through them. There you can see another one of those gates. And here you can see the shaping. So the upper one there is... This one, these H and U-shaped pillars, these are single blocks. that are about 2 by 2 by 2 meters.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I've been commenting for a while. Yeah, no, this is very cool.
Obviously, lizardmen.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, Tiwanaku is one of the inspiration for Games Workshop's work with the lizardmen range for one among them. In any case.
Just a moment. Vingel says that he's dropping by to let me know that Philosophicat just shared the stream on Telegram. Yeah, I saw her in the chat a bit earlier, but if she's gone and she's listening to this later, thank you, Philosophicat. I appreciate it.
If there's Esoterica, she will be there probably.
Probably.
So, yeah, we can just bounce through the other Tiwanaku shots here. So, but
right,
again,
Tiwanaku.
these are degraded because of weather and the way andesite degrades. These are, let's just say that the Incas lie within the what's called the modern time record.
This is very simple. See, this part here, this is the emergent behavior. This part isn't. If anyone is, if any lab coats are looking at it, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that if you take into how longer time it takes for the small degradation, both this and the one that we saw on the other South American thing here, the time that it takes for wind and weather to degrade this hard type of mineral material, it's not 2,000 years old. It's not 5,000 years old. It's a lot older. Because granite is one of those very, very stable things that doesn't like to give parts of it away unless you hit it with a really big hammer. So, of course, constantly flowing water will take its toll, but this would be just out in the rain, and it doesn't rain all that much on these kind of arid plateaus and areas. So.
No, it's more wind, probably, which probably takes a lot longer than flowing water, obviously.
Yeah.
Nice. Can I ask again? Are we getting closer to answering the question, what does this have to do with Hyperborea?
No.
No? All right. I'm trying to tease it out for the viewers.
Yeah. You'll have to use your skill of noticing.
Sure, of course.
Let's continue the noticing. Let's go back to Europe. Take the one that's called Alacahoyuk. Should be the first one.
Do you want to just start at the air view one?
Yeah, start at the air view.
Oh no, organized farming.
Yeah, this is this is in central Anatolia as well, but this is newer because this is the Scythians. No, not the Scythians. The Hittite capital. This was during its time the largest city in the world, at least on the Eurasian and African continents. If you take the next one. And it's situated on this nice little hill. Here you see an interesting little thing. This is the base layer of the construction of the Hittite capital.
This looks very much like the thing we just looked at. At least the style is very similar.
Yeah. In interesting stonework for a primitive bronze culture that doesn't build much, quote unquote. Take the next one.
Next one, the eagle.
Yeah, for all you, as I say, at least one Warhammer fan, you can see that the Emperor was here.
Oh yeah, right. So he's the one who taught them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some foreshadowing here. No, it's just the surviving bas reliefs are quite nice.
But I mean, this does, draw some links to the Göbekli Tepe style of artwork. I would say.
Yeah, the art style is quite.
I'm just trying to notice really hard right now.
Yeah. No, it lingers in the area, and there's also a probability that some of the artwork on the pillars of Göbekli Tepe was inspired or involving the locals. So some of the art style, because the art styles on the pillars is really ranging. You have those bas relief lizards that almost looks like something from Mesoamerica, and then you have this very proto-Hittite art forms and other stuff. So it's kind of its own thing, but it's has a lot of things going for it. You can take the next one.
All right, let's see here. Oh, it doesn't. There we go.
Yeah, here you have the Lion Gate, and here you can see again. Start noticing, how does the stonework look here? Doesn't look as nice, does it?
No, it doesn't. It looks a bit degenerated.
Yeah.
Is this further out? What's the deal here?
No, this is one of the main gates of the.
This is more just like rubble piled on top of each other.
Mm. Yeah, take the next one. This is the so-called Sphinx Gate.
Because of the sphinxes.
Yeah, that has been carved in front of this one.
More stonework here down on the left side. Very Egyptian looking.
Yeah. The emergent noticer can have a little look here. Between these three pictures, you can see perhaps a little bit of a trend. Once you see the lower base layers are very large stones, very smooth.
Yeah.
Probably the base relief art is newer. You have chipped. If you go back
here.
Yeah, if you go back to the eagle, you can see that this one hasn't been placed in a full base relief. It has essentially just been carved out of an existing stone. So you haven't really cleaned up and fixed it.
It's not like an artwork placed.
No. This is someone has come by later, and we're gonna fix this thing up. We need a couple of eagles over here. Start cutting. So this is later bas relief work on older stone. You can tap forward again. I think one more.
I'm gonna have to add the. Here we go.
And here you can see again nearby stonework.
I think that's everything I had on this one.
Yeah, this is
the pattern is showing of newer, more shoddy work building on top of something great.
Then I think we should go and visit the Baalbek folder. Baalbek is a temple complex in modern-day Lebanon, famous for its quite intact Roman temples. This is the picture from a nearby. You can see the Roman columns in the far distance. This is the nearby stone quarry.
Right.
So like a couple of kilometers away from the temple.
That is a huge, like, designed rock being carved out here.
Yeah. You can take the one named Quarry in the same folder, where you can see a bit distant from this. You have more stones like this. This one you can see where the cut was to liberate the block was made, but not finished.
Yeah.
And as you can see from the line inclination here, they have started on a second block beneath, and probably the empty space here is gone. Yeah, where they have removed one and they have started to remove the last upper block to start on a new layer.
Yeah.
just a little bit for size.
Hmm.
Then we can take the one that is called.
Are there any theories on how these cuts get so clean, considering the technology levels?
Oh, this one, Baalbek, they are still insisting that this is Roman work.
Okay, using what?
Yeah, iron chisels.
All right, well, okay.
We can look at the one that goes. It's called Baalbek size, the second one here. Here you can see with a little bit of measurements on. This is the back wall of the temple complex. So you can see this. This is one of the layer of those really large stones that are 5 meters tall, 5 meters deep, and these ones are 20 to 21 meters long.
So here as well, I'm not sure if that's a thing here, but I mean, you have the larger blocks here, and then it gets progressively worse, I feel, going up, but maybe that's just the angle.
Yeah, if you take the one that's called just size, there are some people there, so you can get a chance to say, oh, I got a really shit one there. But here you can see even the smaller pieces that are the foundations. These are not small stones.
Yeah.
And let's just say that the Romans never claimed that they built this. And nowhere else within the Roman world do you find megalithic stonework of this size, probably because the Romans could leverage a lot of engineers, and why move a shit large stone that you can't, it takes too much work to move it because you don't have the tech. Just cut it up into small pieces and stack them with a lot of hands. So again, this is one of the things. Oh, it's a couple of Roman temples on top. It has to be the Romans because cool. Yeah, so that's another one of these interesting things. This is just mostly just pointing at things. If you go out in the main folder, you should have one that is called comparison.
Yep.
Can you show that one? Yeah, there it is. Here you can see essentially these various places. You have from Italy, Greece, Turkey. This is also an interesting thing that this also exists in Japan in a couple of places in the southern islands. Peru is of course from Cusco, and similar stonework is found on Easter Island.
Interesting. And it's all the same style. It's not exactly the same, but it's the same style of building.
Yeah, it's
same style of carving.
Regional variations of the same technique.
Yeah. So now I have a folder named Bosnia. I have a folder named Culium Mountain.
Yeah, you can take the one that is Bosnia. It's kind of a thing. This is another one that modern science doesn't really like, but people have started digging, and when they dig, they start finding things that that
is hard to explain.
Science really doesn't like. Take the one that's called Pyramid 1, which is an aerial shot of the area.
Oh, hello.
This is the structure that they are digging
mountain.
Yeah, this is actually one of 3 that lies in a triangular splitting across
this point,
valley.
It has to be spaceships, right? I mean, I get it now. I get it. I get why people say it's aliens, right?
Yeah, it's easier for people, to grasp it because aliens is a part of pop culture. The fact that cyclical history is not part of pop culture, and therefore it's harder to grasp.
The real red pill is that we were once capable of this.
Yeah, you can take one of go through the dig photos, because this isn't really like the Egyptians one. This one looks to be more of a ziggurat, a stepped pyramid structure, probably an existing hill that they realize, okay, this one is. We can do something about this one. It's
Reshape it.
right natural shape. It's limestone mostly. It's kind of easy to build, but so you start terracing it and putting down, smooth, nice surfaces to walk on and stuff like that. And
Yes, you do.
there you can see the inclination and the cut. So here you have the steps in a sense with our terrace, and there you can see the layer of earth that is coming from the inclination. This one is of course much more pitted because it's not granite, it's limestone, and limestone degrades much quicker in wet conditions, and the Balkans is, well, it rains a lot, so that's why you're getting this kind of crap.
Wobbly sort of.
Yeah, it's sedimentary rock, not igneous, so
Right.
it doesn't really like that.
Fjolnir again for 750 Icelandic kroner says only stone ruins survive. Was Hyperborea perhaps a city of wood?
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
But let's tie back to the Finno-Korean Hyperwar and go into the last Clifton Mountain folder. And
you got to help us and tell us, Birkarl, what the Finno-Korean Hyperwar was.
Well, essentially, the reason it's a meme online, it is related to a very modern phenomenon that is not much related to all this. I guess it is a sort of ironic Zoomer way of deconstructing this whole idea of postmodernism into metamodernism, and this linear history gets first doubted as a joke, and then people start, wait a minute, now maybe it wasn't so much. I'm not sure what the tie-in here is.
I'm not either. I'm just, I just figured it was time to learn about the Finno-Korean Hyperwar.
I can go into where the Finno-Korean Hyperwar starts. Essentially, it's during the Fennoman period in Finland under Russian rule. There was this eccentric artist called Sigurd Asp, who was he got the Phenomania bug, meaning he didn't see himself as a Swede anymore, but this new identity of Fenno-Swede. And the common belief in racial science at the time, of course, was that Finns were Mongoloids and Swedes were not. But he actually saw this the other way. He actually changed his name first to Sigurd Wettenhovi Aspa. Instead of Sigurd Asp. Wettenhovi was his Finnish mother's maiden name. And what he wound up in after, he had a pretty illustrious career in the art world, toured all over places like Paris and stuff like that, but an extreme eccentric, essentially. And he wound up as an amateur linguist and started getting some evidence for his theory of the origin of language. Though the common, or he wound up with these theories of reading about these theories about the common root language of all mankind and how it's Hebrew. And he thought all that was bullshit, and actually it's Finnish. And he has books and books on etymological connections about how Birkarl and Berkeley and all kinds of these things. It's Jean Sibelius actually summed it up. He was a personal friend of Jean Sibelius of Sigurd Wedenhovi Aspa, and he summed it up as Sigurd essentially not having a very good grasp of the Finnish language.
So he pretty much just sort of weebed out over Finland and
yes, and he
wrote some
eventually
fan
wound
fiction.
up in Egyptology, and eventually he changed his name again to fit his more Finno-Egyptologist view of Sihathor Vahenerhotep Ankaf. And that was the name.
That should be a thing. You should be able to change your name sort of based on what your new hyperfixation is.
Yeah, and I posted in the Matrix channel these Hearts of Iron 4 mod memes that are the culmination of this whole modern phenomena of the Finno-Korean hyperwar. That picture in the leader panel there in the memes is Sigurd Asp. So yeah, that's the meme. But this is a strong way to get the Zoomers on side.
So you said that he wrote this, but what is the idea here? Is it that like Finland used to be Kangs, like they were like a huge sort of hyper advanced civilization?
Yes.
Okay, so that it's just that's the meme.
The meme is the Finnish civilization being this primordial source from which all mankind sprung forth.
And they had a huge fight with the Koreans, and that's why we live in the Kali Yuga.
Korean part is a modern add-on to make rationalization of why the the great primordial Finnish civilization fell.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so yeah.
All right.
But when you see these kinds of stones, I guess it isn't actually that, laughable. Maybe
not. Leo Borealis, why don't you tell us a bit more about these stones? Maybe we'll have our third eye opened.
Well, one can always hope.
Yeah.
In any case, this is from central Siberia. It's Kylium Mountain that it's called, and this site was only discovered, I think, 2 years ago. So by
it is very much the same technique here, right?
Yeah. If you go to the next one, next picture, this is more an overshot from one of the side. This is the second one, and here you can see the little Russian man.
Yes, the soldier here in the
next
middle.
to the and you can see on some of the stones that had not shifted apart up in the lighter stones there's not a lot of moss, but you can see it's that zigzag forge line that goes through them that hasn't been split aside in the upper left part.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Here you can see next, more left, more what are you doing?
Sorry.
Left.
Here?
More left. No, more left. And there you can see you have a...
Oh, you want me to point at it? Sorry.
Yeah. If you go where you have that one, okay, then you go down, you see the line there.
Here?
Yeah, there you have one up, and you see it goes vertical, then it goes horizontal for a little bit, and then it goes up again. It goes... No. Use your eyes. Go back to the bottom.
I'm not sure what you want me to...
There, and then you move it up a little bit, and then you see the forge line goes up.
Goes
stop.
like this.
No. You see, there's a line. Never mind. In any case, you see the same kind of zigzag shapes in the stone lines here as well.
Is it? You mean here? This one?
There's where the line goes over. The other one is moss.
Yeah.
And you'll see that.
So it's sort of... Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see it now. The pixels are Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah, it's a bit of a shit picture that I got hold of. If you can take the next one, that is so you have here the retaining wall in a sense to your back with this one. So these are stones that have fallen down or made something else, and here you can see that it's quite straight, quite bar shaped.
Yeah. Very
And
bar shaped. Quite large as well. Again.
Yeah, these stones are as large as the ones at Baalbek.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like the.
Yeah,
ones.
but this is granite. Baalbek is limestone. So
Right. So again, it's harder stone to work with.
yeah, much harder. You can just go through there. If you go to the, these are just some area shots because you have like two sides to it. The one that we have seen on the area shot, that one is more weathered, and this is from the back side of the other side of the mountain outcropping, where you have these more clean lines. So it's more degraded on one side than the other. And here, as you can see, oh, that was bad. You can see the lines of totally emergent mineral behavior. This is
the way
how
they go, like they carve in here. That's
yeah,
what
they
rocks
split,
do.
They split like this. So you have a split, and then halfway across it exactly comes the overlying split, just like brickwork. But yeah, granite gets that naturally. You can cycle through the next one. That one is really small, but here you can see some of the size of these rocks, because you can see at the feet of these guys there's a cut, another cut.
This is the same image, but it's a bit higher resolution. Here we go.
Yeah, it's and this is a bit
the cut here.
Yeah, so you have smaller stones on top, but the base layer is by an order of magnitude larger. It's quite insane. Yeah. And you can see in the lines that these are standing on the edge, so to speak, on the short. So the base is shorter than the length of the stone. You can take another one forward. This is one of the free flying locks. I mean, you see typical emergent behavior for stones. This is the bad side of things, so to speak, and that you have a hard time detecting the lines. But here you can see it's almost like the entire side of that one has melted.
Yeah, that's a very strange shape.
Yep, and then you must realize that on the other side of this rise, we see this very geometric line and neat and orderly shape. I would also like to point out that there has been no ice shelves over this area. This is much further south in Siberia, so this place has been ice free for the last couple of million years.
Right. So there's no
You can zoom in a little bit on that one, because you can see how the stone seems to almost have sagged, like you heat up Play-Doh or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's not like what you would consider from looking at mountains in Norway or Sweden who were under the ice. They have this very specific sort of jagginess to it, but this is almost organic, and it's
you can see how different oriented shapes within that. These lobs have almost like melted together to form new shapes. The lines further to the bottom are losing coherency. You can see how the lines just disappears into blobs and stuff like that. So it's weird as hell.
Fjolnir says for 300 Icelandic kroner, Sisu high civilizations shall rise again.
I agree.
Yeah, you can take the next one just to differentiate. This is on one side. The next picture is on the other side.
It's just clear lines, yeah.
And you can see from the size of the trees, these are Baalbek-sized blocks of granite just laying on top of each other. And you can take the next one. This is up on top of the ridge, like on the very top of it, furthest up to one end. So here you can see you have smaller stone construction.
Yeah.
So this is
the lines are still clean. Usually, you see on these, the higher up you come, the the worse it gets, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you think in levels of infrastructure, you would. This is on one of the whole sides as well. You see how you have this entire like bar-shaped thing and just fallen down off the others and come to rest to the side somehow. And so, like that if you think that these wall segments is like in a line that goes across a ridge, that previous one, if you take back the previous one, this is one that goes lateral to that line. So this is like if you think that this one goes across the ridge. So that indicates why it should you use smaller stones and why the thing is thinner and has tumbled down more easily, because this is probably like an internal retaining wall or something like that. Get that back again. And take one more, so you can see. Yeah, so they're also finding like this between the large foundational blocks, there are like tunnels. So they have essentially an existing space between one of these large, enormous blocks, and then there's a block under and above. So you have like a running tunnel from a fortress or something like that, like in the Maginot Line, you have a transport tunnel underway. And let's see.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then you can go back to the next one.
I think that's the one here.
To the first one. You can take the first. Go back to the first one. All where you have the overview. And here you can see how parts of it have in the left part there. You can see how it's a slide, and there you have all these lumpy stones that seems that they have like run like wax down in a layer. Then on the other side, on the right side.
Yeah, no, I see it here. I was just.
And then you have here you can on the left side you can see parts of the more ordered things, and it continues along all this ridge. So here you have
is the idea that this is one side of a larger structure going upward, or what are we looking at here really?
It's not really been explored much. There's been like one expedition that took these photos.
Right.
And then, world events have kind of gotten in the way.
Okay, so this is quite recent.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, okay. Wow.
They found this, and I think they came back like a couple of months later and took these pictures.
Yeah.
With Jim, I think they did some drone footage as well. So it hasn't really been excavated at all. People have just gone back there and taken pictures of it because they didn't have good cameras the first time and just gone exploring. So here you have then, if we will, should take a look at the Korean Hyperwar, an outpost of the great Finnic Empire, nuked by the dastardly Koreans. They have sent in their Mecha Godzilla.
God engines level Finno-Siberian War.
Indeed.
You have something called a Sphinx, a folder.
Yeah. I thought I'd just prepare some stuff on that if it came up. But I think that Egypt is very much its own thing, and just going into it in a surface level. Wait a minute. We can look just for fun, just for the memes. You can look at the second picture in the folder there. That is a base relief.
Of what? Which folder?
The Sphinx one.
There's only one picture in the Sphinx folder. Giza.
Okay, then I added this one. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna. I'm putting it over to you via Element.
Okay.
Let's take. Where have I put that? There's my desk. There's the stream folder.
So Luddic, you feel like are the pieces all connecting? I'm starting to see it, man.
I'm really trying here. I'm trying to rack my brain to get the mystery. It's not happening yet. I was excited to see the Sphinx, though. I was planning to comment
I'm feeling
on the previous Sphinx.
I'm feeling the ideas here that it really helps being in the revolt against the modern world mindset. Because it. Did you want the second one or the first one?
You can take the first one.
Dang it, that didn't work. Okay. I'm gonna have to download the photo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
This is a Zoomer comedy bit, by the way. It's not. It was totally planned.
Yeah. Oh, look at me! I can't open the file. Please subscribe.
Yeah, we put a lot of gain on the sound, and then it's like I can't access.
Mm.
Do I look like I know what a JPEG is?
This is one of the kind of interesting thing that exists in the Temple of Hathor in Egypt. The light bulb scene, as they call it.
The light bulb scene, because the snake is in a big eggplant.
Yeah, something like that. It's and you have some kind of transistor thing there going on, holding snakes with two hands and stuff like that. The text surrounding this are essentially fitting to some kind of southern tribe in the African interior that one of the pharaohs just BTFO'd with lasers and shit.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah.
Like they had some kind of weapon given to them by the gods that was really dangerous, and if you didn't know how to handle it, it killed everyone around it and stuff like that. And he used it to just annihilate a couple of African tribes, and there was a great victory, and then they never used it again.
Okay. What?
Yeah. That's the surrounding hieroglyphic print around this fresco is essentially that. Yeah, a bit flowery, of course, but that's the sweet and short of it.
Very European of them and very aristocratic, not going beyond their means. We use it once. We could take over the world, but we're better than that.
Yeah, it was probably somewhere in the initial thing that the dire warning of if you mishandle it, it will kill everyone.
Yeah.
So it was
maybe he learned doing that maybe this isn't a good idea.
Yeah, it might have been one of those where all the text say that the thing that in this box, it's dangerous as hell. Next level, use it. Let's just use it. Let's see what it does, and just going, oh shit. Take that box away, dig it away, and never tell anyone where you dug it down. Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But this is kind of woo territory. Can you take the one that is called this picture of the hall? If you can download that one. This is just to show you how
it gives me. I don't have the names anymore because it gives me like an ID. You're gonna have to describe it, but I mean, there's only 3 pictures. So.
Yeah. This one, it's the correct one. This is the Temple of Hathor in Egypt. So, like every surface is of the entire interior of the temple is covered with hieroglyphs and pictorial scenes and stuff like that. Just a little bit of information here, since we came into that one. Just want use this picture to illustrate it. Not perhaps most common knowledge, you don't learn about this in school, but this was essentially how the pyramids, the outer surface of the pyramids looked up until the mid 1700s. with this, because the thing is that in 1754, a great Cairo earthquake happened, and like the entire city of Cairo just fell down on itself and killed 40,000 people.
Oh, okay.
And before that, no one could get into the pyramids because the outer hard, smooth, polished blocks, the capping blocks, were essentially so densely forested that you couldn't get a paper in between them. But this large earthquake shifted parts of the stones on the base layer of the pyramids, so people could pry them out together. And then they used all of that stone to rebuild Cairo, essentially. But
Right.
all the extant sources from the Greeks, as well as late as the Ottoman sources as well, who then ruled during the 1700s ruled Egypt, describe the outer surface layer of the pyramids being packed dense, just like this, with hieroglyphs and pictoglyphs. The entire surface. And if you have seen the pyramids, you know that.
Yeah. The entire surface of the pyramids. Jesus Christ. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, they had a lot of scribes. They had to do something.
Well, sure, but I mean, it requires your society, or like you have to live in a totally different mindset to like do that, right?
Yeah, but then again, also that's the common misconception that
You live literally in a different world, right?
Yeah, and the pyramids are not tombs. That's essentially just we found like something that looks like a coffin without a lid, without decorations, in one of the main chambers. Like someone must have been here and robbed it, and it's like completely bare walls, no inscriptions, nothing. It's just clean stone. And so the thing is that you have to. The thing is that they were not burial chambers. They're
Tesla coils.
No. They were ritual sites. They were temples.
Yeah.
Because the outline, if you map the outline of the three pyramids and the Nile on the summer solstice, you will find that the Nile in the same is like a disjunction, so that the Nile mirrors the galactic, the Milky Way galaxy, the band of stars above, and the three positionings of the three pyramids, the belt of Orion. And in Egyptian mythology, when the soul dies and rests in the grave, and then it rises to the constellation of the belt of Orion, the first star to start its long journey around the galaxy and there be tested by the gods in different trials and stuff like that, to try to get where it's going, or just get kicked back and, try again. So what it is essentially a temple dedicated to the central tenets of life and death in the ancient Egyptian religion.
I'm gonna pull up this one because it was more light bulbs.
Yeah, there's two of them. The other one that we saw just one of. There are a couple of really.
Sure, we can show this for too long. This is a family friendly stream these days.
Yeah, we all know the and their eggplants.
Yeah, especially with the rise of the eggplant emoji. It's
deeply subversive.
Deeply subversive. Interesting. Okay. So we have a couple of more photos here. We won't call Antarctica, which I really want to show.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
because I did some pre skimming through all of this before or when you sent it yesterday, and I'm very curious where you're going with this. So what do we dive into next?
Well, you wanted to show that picture. Show that
Can I
picture.
show Antarctica? Let's do it.
Yeah, why not? Hello.
Where did this one come from? So where in Antarctica is this?
Hmm?
Where is this? Like, do we know where in Antarctica it is?
No, it's not geotagged, so.
Okay. Well,
But it's like that Bosnian kind of pyramid-looking mountain. I mean, it's not the only place where you will find mountain formations like that. We'll find them in Southeast Asia. There's a couple of them in what is it, in Colombia, or is it Bolivia, on the Colombian-Bolivian border, stuff like that. And there's one that seemed to be built by stacked basalt columns in Indonesia. So, and I think there's one somewhere in Japan that is like the one in Bosnia. So not proper Egyptian pile of shaped stones, but it's a very pyramid-formed hill.
this is a very pyramid, but you can see if you look at it, it's the ridges aren't straight in that sense. It more looks like a good candidate to build something like the thing we saw in Bosnia on, but at the same time it's too. I can't stop noticing, it's too straight, right? Interesting.
Yeah, it might be fake. I don't know. I just put it in there because it is a fun thing. Because since you remember the Antarctica discussion that Charlemagne started a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, right.
Let's just throw this one in there, because there's like pyramid-looking structures all over the world. Why not? I'm sure there's one in Antarctica as well.
Yeah.
And
I choose to believe it's true.
Yeah, and as Charlemagne said, it's weird that you're not allowed to go to Antarctica.
It is very weird.
And they make you give up your what's it called, the extra part of your intestine. What's it called in English? I'm blanking here.
Yeah, your appendix.
Yeah, appendix. They everybody who goes has to sacrifice their appendix to some sort of ritual before going, because there's no hospital there. You can't get your appendix removed in Antarctica. So
yeah, and if you're allowed to get there, there are zones that you are absolutely not allowed to stray into. Contamination-free zones.
It's strange that
wink, wink.
Yeah, that a lot of the people who go on expeditions never talk about, like, oh yeah, and they told me you cannot go here. Okay, so I think we're out of photos. Can I ask the question again?
Yeah.
What does this have to do with Hyperborea?
This is as close as to Hyperborea as you will get outside the writings of Herodotus, and he didn't really write much about it, so
This is the closest we can get using sort of what we have today, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there is where's the comparison thing?
well, if we
all these places, right, all across the world, using these same techniques, the repetition of sort of a base layer that is extremely high quality, large blocks, and then sort of a degeneration as, time goes on, either you can see it upwards or outwards, would indicate, the existence of civilizations before that were far more advanced. Now, we're not talking, alien spaceships and laser weapons and white people are actually from space, but it does face modern progressive science with the fact that history is cyclical, humanity is cyclical, and
Yeah, and here's another thing. Just take the space, say, from the last 10,000 years. According to modern science, by the end of the last ice age, everyone who came out it were, at the best had a sharp rock and could perhaps, sew a couple of barely scraped and treated pelts together to make a couple of pants, perhaps, in the best case scenario. And then for gradually and slowly, people accumulated more technology, and then 10,000 years later, we are here, where we are.
Don't forget we killed a bunch of mammoths.
Yeah. We
on the way here.
We were really getting on with the mammoths during the last ice age. I mean, especially since the projected mammoth population globally was about 10 times the projected global human population, and then only perhaps like 5% of extant humanity lived in areas where there were mammoths. So that means that there was a whole lot of mammoth murdering going on for a couple of centuries. Yeah. We this one is nice. But the real question here is then, since we know, confirmed by the science, mainstream science, that anatomically modern humans, essentially people who look more or less just like you and me, we can confirm that shape of Homo sapiens sapiens is 250, 280,000 years old. Okay. Let's just say 200,000 years. Let's be very moderate here. So in the last 10,000 years, we went from throwing rocks at mammoths and somehow killing them to, what we have today. That leaves out 190,000 years of throwing said sharp rock at said mammoth.
Yeah, it's it's a big gap where there's a lot of room for. I mean, think about it. Our conception is pretty much, how far would you consider modern history goes back? For most people, it would be back to, let's stretch it to say, to Egypt, right? Most people have a conception of history going back to Egypt, but that's still just a fraction of the time we're talking about here.
That's basically, if we take Egypt as in the Bronze Age, that's basically the start of what we would call the traditional dating system of the Kali Yuga. The Bronze Age.
That's what I sort of mean. Like our view of history is so, like, when I say our, I mean the average person's, contemporary man's view of history is so tiny that why isn't the possibilities that this has happened, times how many times you can fit our conception of history into 200,000 years, right?
Yeah. I'd just like to bring in with, where are these people then? Supposedly, 5 meter tall, golden haired sons of Apollo, immortal, supposedly, Hyperboreans. We also learn from Herodotus that apparently in the end, when the Golden Age came to an end with the suicide of the Hyperboreans in the degeneration, and that their reincarnation will come again, and that there are no more Hyperboreans anymore, but there might be again if the cyclical history is to Do you
Maybe.
believe?
Here's where the eugenicists and Harari is coming in. They're trying to build the Hyperborean.
Yeah, there it is. The post-man, or what he called it the Homo Deus. Was that it?
Yep.
Odd.
There's another little thing that we can tie back into the Younger Dryas and the impacts that ended the last ice age. If you go back, say, these last 200,000 years, where we know there were modern humans running around, not Homo habilis or something other weird cousin, but people like us, more or less. If you trace that entire time and then you look at in the geological record, do we find more of these events? And we find out about 40 of them. And that's just if we count events that are on the scale that if they happened to us today, it would nuke us back into the Stone Age. I mean, we wouldn't have anything left, and there would probably be mass death on an unprecedented scale. There are about 40 of those events happening, spread out with different intervals during that period. So we have to also take that into account.
Yeah, it's,
so the Younger Dryas meteor impact is just the latest in a long series of things that even say, like, not just even a resilient civilization that doesn't use electronic technology, like, say, for example, the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire should be able to weather a Carrington event rather easily. Sure, the iron spears and stuff like iron infrastructure would spark a bit, but that would be the end of it. One of those things, like other impacts, various solar storms that really affected climate, big fucking volcanic islands just blowing themselves up in the stratosphere and creating a nuclear winter, stuff like that. The Romans wouldn't survive those either. They would also just be back into the Stone Age. So you have to intersperse this period and realize that these kind of disasters happen with regular intervals. Just part of the story.
So one of the passages I read from Law when I sort of tried to brush up on this for the stream, I was reminded of it now because it's in the chapter on the pole and the Hyperborean region. He quotes from the Lietzu, and I'm not sure if this is to any specific event, but I mean, this certainly does describe the, what did you call it, the YDB, the meteor stuff. When he quotes, "The pillars of heaven were shattered, the earth shook at its foundations, the northern skies descended lower and lower. The sun, the moon, and the stars changed their course. The earth's surface cracked, and the waters contained in its belly gushed forward and inundated various countries. Man was in a state of rebellion against heaven, and the universe fell victim to chaos. The sun darkened, the planets changed their course, and the great harmony of heaven was destroyed." And I mean, that's the start of the end, I guess. How do we, I mean, it feels very blackpilling to think that, this is the problem with reading the Panelists and reading Spengler. It's all just, you can't do anything, and it's like 400,000 years until anything gets better.
Yeah, but that's the part of it. But if you really look at the perennialists, that there's always in all perennialist literature. If you look, perhaps not in the modern, if you read Spengler, but if you look at the old cyclic mythic tracks, there's always an inherent warning there, and in that warning is that it can be if you start noticing these trends in time, then you can reverse the course. It's like just like within the, there are golden ages within the Kali Yuga, where things seems like the golden age has come again, but
I think you called it the golden Middle Ages in Revolt, Evola.
Yeah, but it's interspersed within that period, and that is perhaps reading too much into it. But in any case, that I guess is if you notice the pattern and manage to do something about it, then you can bring about a revival of the golden age before it's time for the golden age. So you can get a space there,
and get a
you're
small
lucky.
hit.
Yeah, and of course, a large space rock doesn't drop on you because, well, what the fuck's going to do?
Hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Well, we are slowly building up meteor deflection shield technology with ESA and NASA, but it's early days. We can
Hopefully it
perhaps
doesn't come anytime soon.
Yeah, we can perhaps deflect a small one, not a big one.
Let's all try not to betray heaven and anger the gods, shall we?
Yeah, you see, here's the problem with that. What happens if the with the same-sex marriage meme? What's gonna happen if same-sex marriage gets passed through? That came around about a decade ago.
Oh, and it was the what's gonna happen if gays are allowed to marry? Yeah,
strikes. And all the plagues of
and stuff
like that. And then it was like nothing, just crossed over, and there's nothing. Gay people will get married, and then I don't know about the record for that. It's just been a decade, and things has gone to shit.
Here, I found it. Let me see. Copy image address.
Now, correlation is of course not causation, but
as long as the meme line, I believe in meme magic more than I do in correlation these days.
Yeah, and hasn't the fact even been that like 90% of gay people haven't gotten married anyway because they don't want to, and what it actually has done is that straight people get married less.
Why would straight people get married less if gay people can marry? Is it because it's become gay?
Well, something like that.
Yeah, perhaps.
We're almost at a 2.5-hour mark, and my brain is filled with a lot of thoughts, and I think we almost need to do like a post-Hyperborea stream at some point where, we can talk about this stuff, because I feel like I have thoughts running in multiple directions at once, and I'm unable to sort of articulate them right now. So I think we should do, in the future, like a post-Hyperborea stream where we just talk about stuff like this.
We can do that, and we can read some tracts from the Rigveda then, and
that would be
to
nice.
all the cool Hindu god nuclear wars and stuff like that they have there when they throw suns at each other and there is great destruction.
Yes.
That's a fun read.
Okay. Birkarl, do you have anything you would like to say before we end for the night?
No, I think it's been great. Leo has a way with his graphs to bring a good story out of.
Yeah, and it certainly does paint a very interesting picture. Next up, Luddic Path. Do you have any comments here?
Yeah, my brain is actually kind of blown, like for real. It's not a joke. I'm going to be processing this for the coming week, I think. So I think it was a great stream and funny things to think about.
Yeah. Next week, before we do our final goodbyes here, we will be doing a show on Gargoyles, which is a TV show that Luddic Path watched. I didn't, so I'm going to have to watch it as an adult. And we'll talk about that. Here's the teaser for that.
1,000 years ago, people believed in the magic Sky Daddy. The economy was shit, everyone was racist, and women were locked in the kitchen. It was the age where the white man ruled.
Very nice.
What the hell was that?
It was a very great teaser put together by Luddic Path for our next next episode.
Tune in
So
next time.
Next week, same time, we'll be here.
Wonderful.
I don't think Leo Birkarl, you probably don't have anything you want to shill before we leave for the night.
No, watch the Longhouse.
Yes, be here next week. Luddic Path, do you have anything you would like to add? Any
No,
memes
nothing.
coming?
Just keep watching the show. You can keep watching my channel as well for some memes. I posted a spicy one yesterday. It hasn't gotten the attention I think it should. But
yeah, you're
thanks.
usually very good with the meme game. Okay, thank you all for watching. Prudentialist and Giant Geo is streaming right now. I'll post a link in the chat. Please get over there and tell them I said hi. If not, I think there's a cigar stream later tonight, and usually Radical Liberation tends to stream sometime. Usually that's by the time I've gone to sleep because of the time zone. So there's a lot of excellent content out there for you to enjoy. And there's only 1 week until the next episode of the Longhouse, where we'll be covering the Gargoyles show. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you then.
Good night.